As the mayor of the town of Clayton, I'd like to call this regular town council meeting to order. Ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we pause to give you thanks for the many blessings of this day. And we ask, Lord, now that you be with us as we proceed with the business for the town of Clayton. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Grant.
If I may, I'd like to remove 2 items from the consent agenda and put them on administrative items. That would be item B, the Town of Clayton and Johnston County Schools Facility Use Agreement, and item C, the Memorandum of Agreement from North Carolina Opioid Settlement. And the purpose is just to have a brief explanation of what both of those items are. And if a vote is required, we could take it at that time.
All right. Are there others?
Yes, Your Honor, there are. If we could also, under item, under 5, under special presentations, 5C, the mural project, that's going to be pulled from this agenda, and it will be rescheduled for a later date. Under item 5A, Hillary McFarland, our HR analyst, is not going to be able to be with us this evening. Her child is ill.
All right.
And we are asking for 2 additions under 7, under old business, addition of 7B and 7C. And that will be the awarding of grants, bid grants for the wastewater treatment plant, for the grading, and also for the design build.
Okay, so grading will be 7B and design build will be 7C.
Correct. Thank you.
All right, any others? All right, that's great. Then we'll move on with the consent agenda, less the 2 items, 4B and C.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, next is under administrative items are the advisory board recommendations for appointment.
Recently, we have interviewed for vacancies on 3 of our boards. The first board is the library advisory. We had 1 vacancy on that. We have interviewed, and we are recommending that Julia Curran be appointed to the currently unexpired term. She would fill that term that would expire on 12/31/23. Public art, we had 1 vacancy on that as well. We interviewed, and we are recommending Raven Collins be appointed for an unexpired term, and that term would expire 12/31/22. And then also for the Downtown Development Advisory Board, we had 4 vacancies and numerous great interviews. It was very difficult for this, but we are recommending that Jacob Parenti be appointed to serve out a 3-year term, Jasmine Calhoun to serve out a 3-year term, Paul Auclair to serve a 3-year term, and Matthew Kegel will fill a current vacancy with a term expiration of 6/30/23.
All right, questions or comments from council on the appointments to the advisory boards? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the appointments to the advisory boards as presented. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, up next will be item 4B, which will be the Town of Clayton and Johnston County School Facility Use Agreement.
Scott Barnard to come up and discuss.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Standing before you all this evening, this is the agreement that Principal Jones and I brought forth to y'all a number of council meetings back, and our attorneys have worked diligently with their attorneys, and they have approved an agreement with us, and they have sent it back our way for review. Unfortunately, I don't have that to present to you guys this evening, but I am asking for y'all's authorization of the town manager to sign that pending legal review. The principles of the agreement, not Principal Bennett, but the principles of the agreement are that the town will have an investment of up to $500,000 toward the purchase of the artificial turf system on their fields, and that the town of Clayton will transition into a maintenance of their natural turf fields in exchange for the Parks and Recreation Department to be the lead in programming that space in off-school or out-of-sports hours. And that space includes the athletic fields, all of them on the site, practice field, football field, track, tennis courts, baseball, softball, and there's an additional auxiliary practice field, as well as a gymnasium space, and that any rentals of those space will be managed through the Parks and Recreation Department as well for the period of the agreement, and there will be a revenue split of 50-50 on that. And just as prior when I presented to council, there would be some town investment, a package of equipment, truck, trailer, mowers, as well as the addition of a single staffer. That staffer's duties, that staffer's 40 hours a week. They would not be a single person stationed there. It would be a team of people. This would be an additional person on that team, primarily for this purpose, but also to assist in the additional greenways that have been added and other facilities as they come on board as well. So this person won't be a person that we drop off there and then pick them up on Friday after leaving them there on Monday morning. So. But I'm available for questions, and I do apologize for not having the physical agreement. I would ask that y'all at least consider this evening authorizing the town manager, Rich Capola, to sign pending legal review of said document.
All right, questions or comments from council? I would just like to say that I think this is an amazing opportunity for the town of Clayton and Johnson County Public School System, as well as our county commissioners. These three government entities have joined together to invest in Clayton High School facilities, athletic facilities, which plays a huge part in what Clayton is all about, as we are the premier community for active families. It allows us to have more spaces to be able to accommodate more programming and a much larger, broader span for park and recreation. So I'm really happy to see that, this is what happens when government entities pool their funds and resources together. And hopefully this will be the beginning of something great for all of Johnson County, not just Clayton. Mr. Grass.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with your sentiments, and I'd like to make a motion that we defer approval to our town manager, subject to his discussions with our legal counsel to move forward.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to ask the manager to sign off on this agreement pending legal review. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Up next will be the memorandum of agreement with North Carolina opioid settlement.
Mayor, I'll speak to that. I don't claim to know a lot about it in depth, but it did come to you through me. It was presented to me from the county attorney's office with the request that towns of a population of greater than 10,000 within the county sign off on that. In talking to the finance director, we sort of concluded it's one of those you really don't have anything to lose arrangements. You may not see a dime from it, but if you do, if you don't sign off, you probably won't see a dime of it. But there is an opportunity or potential there for some recovery in the national opioid settlement. Those funds will then flow to the state, and then those will flow to the counties, and some will go directly to municipalities.
Gotcha. Questions or comments from council?
There is a page in the memorandum. It's on page 48 of your package that shows the Johnston County share at 1.25. It goes out about 12 decimal places, but it's 1.25% of the state's recovery.
Gotcha. Any further questions or comments for staff or the attorney? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the memorandum of agreement for the North Carolina opioid settlement.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the memorandum of the agreement. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Up next will be new Town of Clayton employee introductions.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tonight I'd like to introduce the town's new procurement contracts and MWB manager, Sean Mazzell. Sean has over 20 years of governmental purchasing experience. He's coming to us from the town of Cary. Prior to that, he worked for the state as well as Raleigh. Sean's a member of the National Institute of Government Purchasing. He's also a member of the Carolina Association of Government Purchasing. He's as well as the National Contract Management Association, and he's involved with the North Carolina Minority Women's Business Enterprise Coordinators Network. Sean has a certification as a local government purchasing officer, and he's also facilitated many statewide and national training events. So I'm going to welcome Sean aboard and give him an opportunity to speak if he'd like to.
Awesome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council. As Robert said, my name is Sean Mazzell, and I look forward to coming to work for the town of Clayton and also leading them into the procurement of the future. So I look forward to this opportunity. Thank you.
That's awesome. Welcome.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Coppola. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening, and I have two introductions I'm super excited about. Our first is Mr. David Moore, if he'll come up. Mr. David Moore is our new Superintendent of Property Maintenance, and he comes to us with 30 years of experience. He began in grounds with Johnston County Public Schools. He worked his way up to overseeing custodial, general services, the automotive department, working with the environmental issues that we had within the school system, as well as elevators. He is a knower of many and all things. What he doesn't know, he will learn. And he already has earned an outstanding reputation here within just a few days as a doer. He is everywhere, has been everywhere, and is already very well known. Mr. Moore comes to us. He has his wife, Michelle, who's a teacher. He has two children, one who I believe works at social services, correct? And then another in college. And what you don't know about him is he is an excellent singer, and he does a tremendous job with that. So we are excited to have his expertise here with us, as well as his work ethic, and he has already become a part of our family here at Town of Clayton, and I know you will welcome him as you have welcomed me. So I will let him speak for just a couple minutes.
Good afternoon. I have no problem singing in front of a group but I have all kinds of problems speaking in front of one. So, but it is a great honor to be here. Like she said, I actually worked for the school system. It was a great honor to be able to support our kids. And I used the same work ethic here as I did there. So I greatly appreciate you.
Welcome.
Welcome to the team.
Also, I would like to introduce to you all today Ms. Tonda Johnson, who is joining us as a custodian. Ms. Tonda, could you come up? And Ms. Tammy, would you come up? Ms. Tammy Ray is our lead custodian. And when you see everything that looks so beautiful here, she has had a hand in it. And she likes to be a few words, but I told her she had to at least come up here and stand today.
Good.
Come on closer. Ms. Tonda comes to us, and she was previously employed with Meadows Concepts in Hampton, Virginia as a custodian. She's currently been working at Walmart, and she has come to us with a fantastic interview. Again, a high work ethic, and has come right in and hit the ground running and been just very open to doing all the things that make us great here in our facility, so clean and shiny. She has 2 adult daughters and 3 grandchildren, and we know that she will be a wonderful asset to the town of Clayton, as she already has been. So, Ms. Tonda, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. I'm like David. I don't mind singing in front of an audience, but speaking is a little bit different. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to work with the town of Clayton, and I will do my best to be a positive asset. And I just want to say thanks and looking forward to this opportunity to work for the town of Clayton. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome to the team.
And I just will say that this is the beginning of, we split from being with Public Works Property Maintenance is now out on our own. So this is our first opportunity for me to introduce both David with Property Maintenance and then our custodial and grounds crew join us. So we're a new family, but excited to be together. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Tammy, next time you're going to have to speak, so you start practicing at home, okay? All right.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Joshua Baird, Town Engineer. If you recall, several months back, Town initiated a summer intern program. I believe a total of 4 interns to come to help out with some of the workloads, some special projects, but not only that, also just gain some real world experience. So some college students that are looking to gain that experience and apply to their coursework. So with that, I'm gonna bring up Elizabeth Beyer. She is the stormwater intern we selected, and she's working with us this summer. Elizabeth is a rising senior at NC State. She's majoring in biological engineering with a concentration in ecological engineering. She's a park scholar, engineering ambassador. She serves with as a teaching assistant and also coordinates with other staff and fellow ambassadors to set up different events and professional engineering events. She's a part of an undergraduate research program. She's modeling and running some numerical simulations on sediment transport in stream channels, so real applicable to erosion control and things we do trying to keep sediment on site. Elizabeth, she's working stormwater program, just with that being a new program, certain initiatives, projects, as we're really starting to kick that off. She's helping out with a lot of educational materials, signage, the other aspects of our Phase 2 permit and our ordinances. She's working to identify really what stormwater control measures we have around town, so getting into plans, trying to set up GIS database of where those facilities are at, ensuring that they're being maintained as our permit requires and as they should. In addition, working to map and even set up a prioritization system for storm infrastructure. So around town, as we're learning, as we're diving into the program, different stormwater needs across town, from culverts that may be undersized or may have issues, and looking to set up some scoring systems where we can actually prioritize those and have some science behind which projects we proceed with, which ones we put into the budget as we work through that, just prioritizing what those stormwater projects are. So, a lot of benefit having her on, excited to have her on. Not only that, she's getting some experiences as well, just being able to get out in the field and just other aspects of municipal engineering. Been able to sit through some meetings in engineering related to the new wastewater treatment plant. I believe she's even got to see a pump station get cleaned. So just seeing those real world experiences and how the coursework relates to that, and just ultimately makes a better design engineer as well. So with that, I'll introduce Elizabeth to you, and if anything you want to say.
Thank you for the introduction. Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm very excited to be here. As he said, my name is Elizabeth Byer. I was born and raised in North Carolina, and I love our state. And I know that it's the local governments that make our state truly special. I've only been with the town of Clayton for 2 weeks, but I can already see just how special the town is. So I'm very excited to be here and honored to have the opportunity to support the town and its people and its environment. Thank you.
So I just pretty much stopped listening when he said park scholar, because, I always dreamed of being one, but fell tremendously short. A lot of great accolades that you have, and we're really excited to have you be interning here in the town of Clayton.
Thank
you. If there's anything we can do for you, let us know.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, I'm Michael Tutwiler, GIS coordinator here at the town of Clayton, and I'm here tonight to introduce you to our 2 utility locations coordinators. These are the positions responsible for marking our underground water, sewer, and electric utilities to prevent them from damage from drilling, boring, digging, any kind of land disturbing activity. First, I'd like to introduce you to our newest utility locator, and that is Lynetta Lucas. She comes to us from the U.S. Infrastructure Company, which is a privately owned underground utility locating company, and she is a resident of Clayton.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity, and I promise you I will not do you wrong.
Awesome. Welcome.
Welcome.
I'd also like to introduce you to Corshad Scott. Now, Mr. Scott has been with us for 16 months now. His first week, I believe, was the week that we went into lockdown for COVID. So there were several council meetings canceled and then virtual formats, so we decided to bring him in front of you tonight. Corshad came to us from the town of Cary, where he worked in utilities, including locating, and he is an Army veteran.
Awesome.
Thank you for being a part of the team.
Welcome.
Thank you for your service.
Yes. And anytime we can pull somebody out of the town of Cary, that's just like the best thing for a mayor, I tell you. Councilman Robinson is going to be calling me. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for your service. All right, I think that does it for our new employees introductions, and we're very glad to find such great people to come work at the town of Clayton. Up next on the agenda is the awarding of the service firearm and badge. And I'll turn it over to our police chief, Greg Tart.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, members of the council, Mr. Town Manager, Greg Tart, Chief of Police. I'm here tonight, and it's my honor to be here tonight to acknowledge and to honor the retirement of Captain Richie Herring. Richie and I have known each other for many, many years before I came to the town as a chief. I have known his family for many, many years, which are, many of them are here tonight. I want to say that it is extremely difficult in today's world to stay in this business for 30 years. When more people are running away from it than are running towards it. But Richie managed to stay the course, and he has done a commendable job in his career. He began his law enforcement career in the town of Benson in August of 1992. He left Benson for a short time in 1996 and went to Smithfield, to the police department. I guess he realized that that wasn't the place for him to be, so he went back to Benson in just a few months. And he was hired by the town of Clayton on February 7, 2001, where he has proudly served ever since. He has rose through the ranks, and he is currently in the role of captain at his effective retirement, which is June 30th of this year. He has served over 29 years as a law enforcement officer in his state, and over 20 and a half of those years have been here with the town of Clayton and the Clayton Police Department. I can say this, he didn't do it alone. He had a lot of support from his coworkers, from you all, from past leadership and present leadership. But most importantly, he had his family. He cannot have done what he has done for so long without the support of his family again. So I want to commend them for their support and commend Richie on his retirement. And tonight we're here to honor him with presenting him his service weapon and badge. So Richie. On behalf of the town of Clayton and the Clayton Police Department, we'd like to present you with your service weapon and badge in recognition of a 29-year law enforcement career with over 20 of those years with the Clayton Police Department. Thank you for your honorable commitment and dedication to the citizens of this town and to this community. And may God continue to bless you and your family as you start the next chapter of your life. Congratulations. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'd like to thank all of y'all. It's been a long journey, but it's been a good one. And I'd like to thank the men and women of the Clayton Police Department. It's been a great department to work for. And not only the police department, but all the men and women in the town of Clayton. There's no finer place to work. I've had a great career here. And the thing I'm most grateful for tonight, I've got my family and my friends here that's been with me through this long journey, and they're all here behind me. And I'd like to just thank them. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, we want to take our opportunity, I do as the mayor, and I'll let council speak for themselves, for your service to the town of Clayton and doing it with passion, you know, and it's so evident in your demeanor everywhere we've been and you've shown up, and it doesn't matter if it's on site with something going on or if it's just collectively as a group with Town of Clayton employees or just something swearing in a new officer at the police department. You know, you have totally modeled the way on what it means to be a professional police officer in today's world. And on behalf of the town of Clayton, I want to thank you for that. And I want to wish you the very best. And I want to also extend a very special thank you to your family on behalf of the town of Clayton. And we wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome. Any others? Mr. Grants?
Captain Herring, I'm excited for you and I'm disappointed for us, but I think you have set the bar for our organization, and to me, you are the epitome of the consummate professional. And especially with what we see going on around us in the world today, you have exhibited such a professionalism that I think no one will ever be able to take away from you. And I also want to thank your family for their commitment to your profession. You've done one hell of a job, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Mr. Grants.
Anyone else? Mr. Bunn?
Richie, I can't top any of that. Not even the best politician could shovel any more than that right there. But I just want to say congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Bunn.
What you gonna do?
I have the plans right at this moment.
Your family probably got some plans for you. That honey-do, the honey-do list grows really. The honey-do list grows really long once you retire. You know, Mr. Holder.
Congratulations. Don't agree to too much too quick. Enjoy your time off. Okay?
All right.
It's very easy to get busier after you retire than before you retire. So enjoy your time off.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holder.
Is your wife still working? She is. Okay, well, that's good for you.
Thank y'all.
All right, thank you very much.
Just say it.
Now, y'all are missing out on a real good council meeting, and y'all want to stay now.
In the time, 22 and a half years.
Wow.
To get in place.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Up next on our agenda is the NEA Big Read Clayton.
Next time I'll ask to be put before the, the most exciting presentation. Hello, Mayor and Council. I am Joy Garrettson. I'm the Library Director, and I am so excited to tell y'all about this, the NEA Big Read Clayton grant that we received. Just found out that we received it in May, and there was an embargo on announcing it until June. So I came and presented a little bit about this to you before when I first applied for this grant. The idea is that we will get this one book and we'll read it all across Clayton. The book that we chose is The House on Mango Street. It's a story about a Mexican-American girl growing up in Chicago. And we chose this book for a few reasons. One of them is that it is really easy to read. It's just an easy, enjoyable, beautiful read. It's a very visual book, and I could imagine from the second I picked it up how we could incorporate it into the arts in our town. Another reason that I chose it is that it will hopefully speak to a lot of the people who live in this town who are trying to find that house, to find a neighborhood, to find a place to fit in and belong. We have a high Latino population in town, 14%. That's huge. It's bigger than it was when I got here almost 4 years ago. So I'm really excited about that. So a couple of exciting things about this, about being awarded this grant. We are the only public library in this state to receive this grant this year, which is really exciting. A couple of universities received the grant, and I'm super thrilled for them. But I was just super proud when I saw that we were the only public library that got it this year. And there are only 61 grantees nationwide. So to apply for this grant, you have to show really deep commitments with your partners in the town. And I wanted to show you a few of our partners and some of the things that are going to be coming up this year. So this grant kicks off in September. I will definitely be asking y'all to make a proclamation, so get ready. It's going to be fun. We have a lot of things coming up. We've got a big kickoff event at the farmers market. We're going to have some food trucks that go along with our theme. We'll have all kinds of activities. We'll have story walks. We've done, it's called, the one that we've got with Parks and Recreation is called Trails and Tales. Our summer reading is Tales and Tales. But so we'll be putting out books for a story walk. We'll have story times, book clubs, and reading events. We're going to have virtual author visits. Sandra Cisneros is going to be doing a live streamed virtual visit with us in November. And then the author of one of our companion books, Julia Alvarez, is going to be doing some live streams with students. We'll have art classes from Clayton Visual Arts. We'll have theater classes with Carolina Youth Theater. They're also going to be doing some performances for us. Johnston County Writers Group is doing workshops that will be really, really good, using some local authors to run these workshops. We're going to have a panel discussion with the Racial Diversity Coalition. We're going to have a first-time homebuyer workshop, which I'm super excited about. There are several realtors in the area who work primarily with Hispanic clients. We're going to have them come in so that we make sure that everybody feels welcome. And we will do a day of just like what to expect when you're buying your first home. I don't know if you guys know this, but there are a lot of houses being built in Clayton around now. A lot of people moving into town, so we're going to try to help bridge those gaps. At the end of our grant period, we'll have a juried art show where people can submit their artwork, including people who've come to our classes. And we'll have it right out here in our beautiful lobby. And all artwork that's chosen has to tie in with the book. And then we'll have Clayton Visual Arts, sorry, not Clayton Visual Arts, they'll be running the art show. But Carolina Youth Theater is going to be doing monologues from the book. Because the chapters are super short, you can do a monologue with them. It's going to just be a really beautiful event. Hopefully we'll have that catered with some super, super good food. So I wanted to tell you about some of our partnerships. Obviously, our Friends of the Library partner with us on everything. Johnston County Public Schools, I've already got programs started with West Clayton, Cooper, Powhatan, and Clayton High School. Carolina Youth Theater, Clayton Visual Arts, Racial Equality Coalition, a couple of the other groups that I mentioned earlier, the Writers Group, Johnston County Association of Realtors, Farm and Community Market, Chamber of Commerce, Country Superstars. Y'all are going to hear my voice a lot coming up in the next few months, so I hope that's okay with you. And Barbershop Creative is going to work with us on the logo. I've also been working with Quail Ridge Books. They put me in contact with Sandra Cisneros' agent, and they're going to be kind of teaming up with us to get us some great books. So the last thing, I mentioned this earlier, we did want to nod to the diversity in Clayton by choosing this book. We're launching our programs just in time for Hispanic Heritage Month, which is September 15th through October 15th. And like I mentioned, we'll ask for that proclamation from you and the council. And we want you to come to our programs. We might even want you to read the book, which it's short and easy. And it's beautiful, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And before, I have one more slide to share with you, but before I share that, do you have any questions for me about where you can get the book?
Mr. Grants.
Mr. Grants.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment, maybe two comments. This is not something I'm proud of. I don't read. And what I mean by that is that I've probably only read 6 to 8 books outside of high school and college, and they've all been associated with sports or athletics of some sort. And I'll read the newspaper when it used to be published on a regular basis, but it was mostly the sports section. The only other thing I read with any degree of consistency is our council agenda, and I think everybody knows that. But I read this book.
Really?
I did. And I'm, as you know, associated with one of the organizations you mentioned, and we have had several discussions about that, and I want you to know we're very excited to be participating. But that book held my attention, and you're right, it's easy to read, especially for someone who doesn't like to read. But I'm very impressed with what you're putting together, and I'm so excited for you and your staff for getting this grant. And I am so impressed with how you and your team think outside of the box, and you keep bringing new ideas to this council, and they're all successful. And I can't thank you enough. You are a real inspiration, and I'm really proud that you're our librarian.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody else want to say that? And let me show you this next little bit. And thank you very much. And I'm so glad that you read it. I'm glad that you liked it. It's really, I mean, it's engaging. It's really good. Yes. So there's another small project that's in the works, well, kind of small project that's in the works, that if we get it, I want to just mention it to you because we'll be rolling it out as we do our outreach for our other project. And this is, so last year I applied for a grant to get hotspots. It didn't happen. I have again applied for a grant to get hotspots. If anything, COVID-19 showed us that a lot of people in our area don't have reliable internet access. And so the state library has been kind of parceling out money for COVID relief during the past year, and this grant came up at the very end of the year. And I have applied to get 15 mobile hotspots and 10 devices to lend out to patrons. So if we get this grant, I'll find out in July. We will be advertising it and telling people about it when we start doing our big read stuff. So just wanted to let you know I've applied again. Hopefully we'll have it and people can connect with us with some internet at home. So I wanted to throw that in there for you guys. That's all I got.
So I just want to add a little to what Michael Grant has had to say. You know, really, if I sit back and evaluate this as an evaluator doing a matrix with this grant funding, and I read what you present, and I see how holistic it is, and I see the broad outreach, and I see the collaboration amongst literal arts and visual arts and performing arts, and, you know, no wonder that we're the only one to get this, you know, because you can't touch that. And it's the bigger picture that is so casting the big net, you know? So you're to be totally commended with your staff on the vision and what you see as possible and how well you tie all this together. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like teaching at school where you would integrate math and science with art and, you know, and look at how you're encompassing all that stuff.
Our community is also why this worked, because we have great arts. We have the theater. I love Carolina Youth Theater. We have great writers. So we've got what it takes to create a grant like this. So it's that too. So
That's
thanks,
awesome.
y'all.
Congratulations. Thank you. All right, up next is public hearing. It's the 2020-50 annexation, Peyton Road Extension. Turn it over to our planning department.
Good evening, Mayor McLeod, members of the Town Council. My name is Jeff Keynes, Senior Planner with the Town in Clayton. Tonight, I'm here to present the staff or the presentation for the annexation of Peyton Drive Extension, file number 2021-50-ANX. Long story short, it's a request to annex a small piece of property in order to enclose a public right-of-way into the town's jurisdiction in order to put it for a couple of reasons. One, the town wants to take it over and maintain it, so it needs to be within a jurisdiction. And the second one is also to claim it under the Powell Bill, which is certified every year by the town on July 1st of each year. The existing use right now is access between Riverwood Athletic Club and Covered Bridge Road as a secondary access point into the development. Again, the location, again, is like I just mentioned, on Riverwood Athletic Club and Covered Bridge Road. And the size of the property is the block. So the size of the property is at just a tad over 1.5 acres in size, with a public right-of-way going right down the middle of the property itself. And on this map, I just want to show a close-up of the property that is proposed for annexation. And with that, I will conclude the staff report because it's an annexation and they're not very long.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? All right, if not, I'll open the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak, please step forward and state your name for the record. No one wishing to speak, I'll close the public hearing and turn it over to council for their discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we adopt ordinance 2021-06-06.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of the ordinance 2021-06-06. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, up next under old business is the fiscal year 21-22 annual budget. This public hearing for the budget process was held on June 7th, and I'll turn it over to Interim Town Manager Rich Capola.
Mr. Mayor, if it's all right, I'll go ahead and do a relatively brief update here from the dais and ask Mr. McKay to come up if you do have any specific questions. I guess first, I was a little little confused when Mr. Granite said he doesn't read much, because unless the budget document's available on audio tape.
He left that part off.
I can tell that you have definitely read, and we appreciate all the comments and questions that we've received throughout the entire budget process. The document you have in front of you today with the budget ordinance, really the main changes, as we discussed at the end of the meeting last week, Mr. Mackay was finishing up reallocating the funds that would be the new property maintenance department that Deputy Manager Gill mentioned earlier in her presentation. Those funds have now all been correctly allocated within the budget ordinance document. So in front of you, you have essentially the fiscal year 2022 budget document as discussed at the budget work session with those minor changes. The bottom dollar amounts don't change. It does have no tax increase proposed, as well as the addition of the 35 new positions that we've included or incorporated into the budget for this fiscal year. So with that, I will allow any question or request any questions you may have before we move forward.
All right, questions or comments?
I'm ready to get out my 76 question list. No, I'm kidding.
So there's just one comment I want to make as it pertains to this 2021-2022 budget. I am so appreciative to this council, and it's the council's leadership for right off the bat wanting to show our appreciation to our employees, not only verbally, but with what we could do to help financially. And included in this year's budget is a 3% raise across the board. And I think it's awesome on behalf of this town council that they appreciate and know the dedication and the time the town of Clayton employees put in to make those who sit up here look so good with everything that we have going on. And on top of that, to even show really how much they are committed to Clayton and to our community, they're also going to review this pay midpoint of this fiscal year. So midpoint of the 21-22 fiscal budget year, council will come back. We're going to see how our projected revenues are coming in. We're going to evaluate where we've been experiencing cost savings. We're going to take a strong look at the financials so that, again, this council wants it to be a priority that we are offering up as much financial support for our employees and for their families because of the great job that you all do. And we couldn't do a great job like that without the support of this council. So I want to acknowledge all of you for really just stepping up and like no arm twisting or debate. They were just ready to do what we could do financially and responsibly to show our appreciation to our staff. So with that, I'm excited about this upcoming budget. And I want to thank Robert Mackay and Rich and the whole leadership team and department heads, everyone. You know, we've been up here long enough to know what it takes to create a budget. And y'all look at it a lot longer than we do. And we appreciate the time that everybody puts into it. There has been a time in my career on this elected official side that we would have department heads who would just kind of Xerox last year's paperwork and change the date. And, you know, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way 20 years ago. And maybe, I think the newspaper said I berated the employee, but I think berated was a strong word. But it just really shows that everybody is so committed in their department to doing the best with what they have to work with. And we as a council appreciate that. It's awesome. So with that, do I need to, we'll entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Holder, yes, sir.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2021-06-09, 2021-06-10, and 2021-06-11.
Okay, I need you to do the one under old business item 7B.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Just got to get the numbers correct for the motion.
All I'm going to do is make a motion we adopt 2021-06-07 budget.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance 2021-06-07 for the 21-22 budget. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Holder.
I'll make another motion to adopt ordinance number 2021-06-08, fees and charges.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance of 2021-06-08, fees and charges. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Up next, item 7B is the awarding of the bid for the grading for the new wastewater treatment facility. A bid award. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading my own writing here. Okay.
Again, Joshua Baird, Town Engineer. Two quick, just administrative items here before you tonight. Mayor, if it's okay, if I can, I'd like to just give some background on both and then two separate actions on both of those. Excuse me. So hopefully you've got the items before you. Should be a total of 4 items for each of the actions. A cover sheet, previous resolution tied to it, a copy of authority to award, and then a proposed resolution moving forward. On April 19th, Town Council approved 2 resolutions. They were tentative resolutions to award construction contracts. Those projects were for the new waste reclamation facility, the design build project to Gannett Fleming, as well as a early grading, access road and water line project to Providence Construction. Both of those, again, were tentative awards. As you're aware, we do have Clean Water State Revolving Fund support for these projects as funding. With that being said, we could not formally award those contracts until we got approval from the state through DEQ, Division of Water Infrastructure, that oversees that funding. So since then, on May 19th, we did receive that formal approval, authorization, authority to award those formal contracts from the state. So at this point, we can formally award those contracts. So a little background, and so then getting into just the specific one, the first, that early grading, access road, and water line. We're prepared, hopefully, to issue a notice to proceed for the 28th and actually start to see some trees dropping in advance of that. We just got to clean up the administrative item and formally award that contract now that we do have the authority from the state. So with that, staff requests final approval to formally award the contract to Providence Construction and authorize town manager or designee to execute any change orders required to complete the project within the previously approved budget. Any questions regarding just the specific first one of the early grading access road project?
Any questions or comments regarding the grading? Mr. Granis.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the resolution 2021-28 as stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
For the second action tonight is related to the design build contract. Again, that was with Gannett Fleming. Again, tentative resolution and just formally actually awarding the contract tonight. Additional step here is also just to ratify 2 different change orders, just to keep the project on track and meet the schedule, working through those. So I would request that those get ratified with this approval tonight. So staff request final approval to formally award the contract to Gannett Fleming Design Build Team, and change orders 1 and 2 be ratified and approved as part of this award. Staff further request Town Council authorize town manager or designee to execute any change orders required to complete the project within the previously approved budget. And with that, I'll take any questions on the design build contract.
Questions or comments regarding design build? All right. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve resolution 2021-29 as stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of the ordinance 2021-0609. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you for the good work you're doing too. And for grabbing a Park Scholar. That makes you look good, you know that? That's awesome. Go, Joshua.
Candidates.
All right, up next under new business is the year-end closeout budget amendments, and give the floor to our Finance Director, Robert McKay.
Evening, Mayor, members of council, Robert McKay, Finance Director. Tonight we have 3 budget amendments. The first one is related to the water sewer fund, where we're budgeting incremental revenues received from system development fees that we have to transfer over to the internal capital reserve fund, as well as we're budgeting some incremental water sewer revenues, primarily to cover a debt service timing difference. If council remembers, we had a $15 million nutrient credit financing. That debt service initially was expected to come on in 21-22, but I actually had debt service occur in the current fiscal year. The last 2 budget amendments are tied to our electric system, specifically the AMI project. So we have to budget a transfer out of the electric fund to cover projected overage in the AMI project to finish the installation of those water meters. So what I can tell you is after looking at this, we knew we were going to have a project overrun on the AMI project. It looks to me like what we thought was going to be a $500,000 overrun on the water sewer side is not going to be materialized. We're going to, overall, I think we're going to wind up where we thought we were going to be, but there's, I would say the alignment is going to be different between water, sewer, and electric. You know, we've got two pieces of that. We're doing a water meter replacement as well as electric replacement. We haven't seen the final pay app yet, but when I'm looking at things holistically, again, I think the overage we thought we were going to have is probably still going to be there, but it's going to be a different allocation. So the $500,000 transfer we put in for water sewer, we're probably not going to need that because the overage is going to be less, but we got to make it up on the electric side. But I've got to be able to cover this overage. Otherwise, we're going to get a write-up from our year-end financial report, and if I don't cover this over expenditure on the capital project from the AMI meter side.
What kind of overage are you thinking, Robert? What kind of overage are you thinking?
I think we're still going to be in line with around the 500,000 in total, but it's just going to be, it's just a different allocation. We initially thought it was all on the water sewer side. When I look at it, I'm not seeing that. And the final pay app we're going to get, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's all going to be tied to the electric system. So the water system, in all intentional purposes, those costs are in. So we'll come back and do a final reporting for the project when we close that project out and give you an update on how that total cost actually came out to be.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments about budget amendments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Are we going to do all 3 at one time?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we adopt ordinance 2021-06-09, 2021-06-10, and 2021-06-11.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of the ordinance number 2021-06-09, 10, and 11. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Up next is the Water and Sewer Progression Compensation Incentive Policy.
Mayor and members of the council, Byron Pullman, Water Resources Director, appreciate the opportunity to stand before you today. And I do want to thank you for your efforts, not just through this budget process, but in looking after our employees. I appreciate that. The program that you've got before you was drafted in 2019 and submitted and shelved, but it is an incentive program for the utility maintenance and mechanics positions as a progression through the system as far as utility maintenance mechanics 1, 2, 3, and a senior mechanic.
This is to replace a policy that I drafted back in 2019, or back in 1999, actually, that was submitted and shelved, but we've been using the policy in HR to give our employees incentive to receive certifications through the state of North Carolina and through the North Carolina American Water Works Association. At that time, we had no employees that were certified in water or sewer of any kind. And so we drafted that policy to encourage them to do that. This policy is an update of that procedure that we've been following that outlines 4 steps through the utility maintenance mechanic progression, a 1, 2, 3, and a senior mechanic. And there are a couple of language changes in the document that we need to get straightened out as far as the salary grades that will be used for that. But basically, it's a 5% increase for reaching a certification level to increase from a 1 to a 2 and 2 to a 3 and so forth. It outlines a 2% increase, salary increase for receiving a certification, but then a promotion for receiving a combination of certifications that would promote them to the next level. I will tell you that right now we've probably got the best utility maintenance and mechanics crew that we've ever had in the 24 years that I've been here. And I would put them up against anybody in the state as far as a group of people that are dedicated to what they do and knowledgeable in what they do. Even though we do have a very new crew, fresh people coming in that are learning on the job. They're doing a great job, and I appreciate what they do. And hopefully this program, as you review it, potentially adopt it, will be taking effect this coming year. And we appreciate you looking into that. Any questions?
Awesome. Questions or comments? All right, hearing none, thank you very much. And I will entertain a motion.
Mayor.
Go ahead,
Mr. Grants.
First of all, Byron, I want to thank you for bringing this before us. I think it's a good measure. And with that, I make a motion that we adopt policy WNS 2021-01. Second.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of the policy WNS 2021-01. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to staff reports, beginning with the manager.
Mayor, 2 brief updates tonight. First, on the recruitment side, you guys got to meet Sean this evening. Real excited about the procurement and contract management position getting rolled in. He's going to hit the ground running, so we're hoping that's one of the first major positions that we had discussed getting filled here coming out of the gate. The other position that I just want to give you a quick update is on the HR director. That recruitment is still open right now, but the executive team did start today with interviewing some of the candidates, and I will say that we are very encouraged by the group of folks that we talked to today. So more to come on that, but hoping to have that position filled hopefully sometime on and around August this year. And the last major position that we still have open right now is the planning director. We're still in recruitment for that. We haven't begun first round interviews for that yet. So still working our network and want to make sure folks out there know that they can still apply if they're interested. The second part of that was, and I think there may be some discussion to be had with regard to the parking work session that we discussed at the last meeting. Staff had been moving forward, trying to find a date that could work to get everybody in the room to have a conversation about how to review our current practices in downtown, as well as solicit some input from the various stakeholders within the public. Right now, we are tentatively looking at the July 14th date to do a half-day work session with the council. Our thought process in advance of that, as soon as tomorrow, we could potentially put out a survey to the public to provide some input. Patrick Pierce, Economic Development Director, has worked with the PIO to put together several questions, kind of a mix of multiple choice, short answer, long answer, to kind of get to what kind of user you are of downtown or patron of downtown are you, and what your expectations are of parking within the downtown. The intent there being, obviously, we get the feedback, compile it, provide it to you all in advance of that discussion. But I do want to just kind of poll the council here to see if that is the format you want to move forward with, or if you've got some other thoughts on that.
Comments? Mr. Bunn?
Mr. Mayor, I've had some discussions today actually about this, and my thought process is if we could send a survey out to the stakeholders and get feedback to see what their ideas of the parking situation for the downtown overlay area. I've talked to a merchant actually this afternoon, and they said, "Yeah, I'm glad y'all talking about this. We need y'all to do something." And I looked at the guy and said, "Well, what you want us to do?" Didn't have an answer. So I want to hear what the answers are. And once you compile that and you could feed that to us to look, because basically, and I don't want to get into a long spiel here tonight, but just like in Raleigh, I manage a church parking up there for 3,000 parishioners. We've got 30 spots. It's up to you to park wherever you can park in downtown Raleigh. It's not up to the city to decide, hey, you need to park at this certain location. It's back on the property owners, the business. It's back on this. It's not on the town. It's not on the city of Raleigh of where people park. They give you street parking, you take advantage of it. But it goes back to as I talked to this merchant this afternoon, I said, you know, the parking we have today is the parking we had 10 years ago. And it's the same parking we're going to have in 10 more years. We're not going to be able to create any more parking unless we take something down and build something, which is going to cost quite a bit of money. So I would like to see the feedback come back from the stakeholders that you're going to send to see what kind of ideas they have, because I am definitely open for any ideas for parking downtown. That's just the thought I had.
Anyone else? Mr. Grants?
I don't disagree with Councilman Bunn, but in addition to that, I think part of the issue that we really need to seriously consider and evaluate are the parking ordinances and requirements in our development ordinances as to whether or not maybe they need to be changed. And the reason I say that is as you know, we have several businesses coming in, and we've already had one go through the Board of Adjustment, which did receive a variance, but that doesn't mean that each one that comes in here that is going to require a variance is going to get one. And that concerns me to some degree, because it could turn away, it has the ability to turn away some very viable businesses. And I think we all realize that if the more businesses that come in, the more sales tax dollars we're going to see, which is a good thing. But more importantly, it's a better opportunity for our citizens to be able to enjoy downtown, because there's going to be more opportunity to draw them to downtown. So in addition to what Councilman Bunn says, I also think we need to really review our ordinances and try to come up with a solution that's more workable than what we have today.
I agree. All right, anyone else?
I guess just for clarity, we certainly agree that there needs to be a multi-pronged approach here, in particular making sure that we get the ordinances in what the view of the council, what the will of the council needs to be. I guess in terms of next steps, Mr. Bunn, I guess, are you requesting that we go ahead and get the feedback and bring that back to you at the July council meeting potentially, instead of having the work session, or continue with the work session, get it in advance and continue with the work session on the 14th?
I'd love to hear the ideas. I really would, from the stakeholders, the people who are really concerned. I don't know how, that's up to everybody else, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I'm not trying to call a special meeting for fun, but I do believe it warrants some good in-depth discussion and an opportunity to really get a little bit down in the weeds with the parking ordinances that we have with Town of Clayton, because for me, I can only speak for me, but I'm not really sure what all they are. And it would probably be a great opportunity to learn more about that, which would allow all of us as elected officials to be able to speak more knowledgeably about the subject. So I'm not trying to, I want to make sure if we're going to spend 4 hours together that it's a really intense and progressive and informative with bullet points, of course. We still got to get down in the weeds, but we still got to have bullet points. But I do think to Councilman Bunn's point, it is going to be imperative to hear from stakeholders prior to us trying to get into a discussion in our learning process. I would like to see what it is that you guys are sending out to everybody, just so we can speak to that if we get stopped on the street, because we would just like to see that. I think it's a great idea to do a type of survey, multiple choice, kind of all that. Yeah, I don't want anybody to think that just because we have the word survey tagged to this, that we already have a desired outcome that we're looking for. I want them to understand that it is definitely for information purposes, so that we can tie this up and get a bow on it like we need to. Yeah, awesome. All right, anything else?
I do have a question. Is it conceivable that we could produce a survey, have it sent out, and get the return responses and still be able to do a meeting on the 14th? Or should we push the 14th date back?
No, I think in talking to Patrick earlier today, I think we have about a half a dozen questions already. Again, some multiple choice, some short answer. So we could have that out as soon as tomorrow afternoon, just pending getting it put into a SurveyMonkey or other vehicle. That would give us probably a few weeks that we could keep it open, compile the data, and then maybe commit to getting it to you guys possibly the Monday before the 14th, so that you have a couple days to digest it. I think that, putting Patrick a little on the spot here right now, but I think that would be certainly doable. Again, we could keep the survey open beyond those dates, just in case somebody does miss it. We'll make sure that it is widely advertised, both on the website and social media, as well as some of the sunshine list emails that we have. So we'll make sure that we try to hit a good cross-section of everybody that's involved, as well as reach out to some individual stakeholders we know have already reached out to us. So I guess we'll move forward with that plan to get that out tomorrow, compile the data, and set that work session for the 14th.
Would it be reasonable to expect that if you get it out tomorrow, that you run it, say, certainly through July 6th, but maybe through July 9th? And then can you compile it and distribute it on the 12th of July? Is that reasonable?
I'm going to look to Patrick and Nathaniel.
Because that would give us essentially one day to look at it.
Patrick Pierce, Economic Development Director. Yes, I think I would want to keep it open through the 6th and advertise it well throughout then. I think depending on the response, we may want to maybe shorten that and make sure, leave enough time to make sure you all have enough time to look at it. If we get overwhelming response and have to go through 1,000 responses, we may want to leave ourselves a little time and produce those to make sure you have it in time. And maybe, but again, I think as Rich said, if it's kept open, we can kind of set a cutoff point to where we're going to start compiling data to get to you all. Do that week when we get back from the 4th of July holiday on the 6th and start getting that out, and then we should be able to have that to you by the end of the week. I think that's completely reasonable.
Okay.
That works all for you. You all tell us what you want us to do and we'll do it, right?
Councilman Bunn, does that sound good? I'm good. Let's go forward.
I think the main thing for me is just make sure we have enough time to digest this before our meeting, but at the same time, we don't need it a week before our meeting. So just create that balance with that.
Get us a copy of the survey as it goes out too.
Oh, yeah, we definitely want a copy of the survey. Yeah.
Y'all can send that out to us also as you send it out, since you're doing it tomorrow. Be awesome.
All right. Anything else?
Nothing else for me tonight.
Awesome. Town attorney?
No report, but in keeping with the theme of NC State and Park Scholars, good luck to the Wolfpack baseball team tonight.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Town clerk?
No reports, thank you.
Other staff?
Hello, good evening. I'm Amy Sharon, Emergency Management Coordinator with Clayton Fire Department. I'm here to talk to you tonight about events in downtown, obviously specifically Square to Square coming up on July 3rd, but I also wanted to mention, concerts are back. We are very excited to say concerts are back in Town Square. Our first one will be August 19th, which is a Thursday night, and that is two local boys, Aaron Ham and Jonathan Parker. And then on September 30th, the Embers will be back in town. So that information will be going out publicly here shortly, but just so you guys know, that is out, and we are very excited to be bringing that. And then I brought you guys flyers for the Square to Square event, which I'll... So that is coming up Saturday. It's a little less than 2 weeks away. It is come together nicely. We've got, all the different pieces planned, free snow cones, free watermelon, which if you guys are able to join us that day, we'd love to have you help us cut up the watermelon and pass out. The snow cones we've made all day. We're also having a hot dog eating contest. We'd love for you guys to participate if you're hot dog lovers. A hula hooping contest for the kids. Some games and attractions in Town Square. The farmers market will be set up in Horne Square like normal on a Saturday, so they're going to extend their hours for that day to come out. And then, we'll have games and activities throughout the street. The Public Art Advisory Council is going to do some chalk art. What am I missing, Patrick? The Poetry Fox, which is a gentleman dressed up like a fox with an old school typewriter, and you give him a word and he will write you a poem on his typewriter on the spot. So that's something a little different and a little fun.
Awesome.
The Clayton Center is bringing out for that day. We're really excited about that. There's big balloon arch coming to Town Square for the bicycle parade, a fire truck parade with some police cars and all of that stuff to finish the event at 2:45. Headed down Main Street. So it really should be a good, fun day. We'd love to have you guys out there and eat some hot dogs and cut up some watermelon. So I think that's all. If you have anything else?
No. All I'd say is I ran it by my 10 and 6-year-old, and they are both very excited about everything we have planned. So I hope you can extend that to kids or grandkids, and just really a good family fun day in Clayton celebrating Independence Day. So it really doesn't get any better than that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Did your kids encourage you to participate in the hot dog eating contest?
No, my daughter actually told me that we should do it a different way. So she's very concerned about daddy's belly. So
listen, I've seen a lot of that stuff on TV, and I'm not quite, I kind of stopped getting sick in public in college. So
A lot of conversations about those who might get sick.
well, this is great, and you guys have done a wonderful job, and I think this is a wonderful way for Clayton to celebrate our patriotism and our Independence Day. So thank you both.
And I have to say that I'm very enamored with the new logo for the fire department.
See that? Yeah. Does everyone see what he's talking about?
No.
No, look at the, on the bottom. Lucy. We may have added Lucy to the flyer.
Oh, cool. That means we're going to add Blaze over here to the town of Clayton. We can't get him still. That's my dog. He's an Australian Labradoodle, and he needs to be medicated. Funny how people are like their own, pets are like their owner, right? It's just the craziest thing. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you both very much. This is great. We want to encourage everybody to come out for that. It's going to be a wonderful day from 11 to 3, downtown Clayton. All right. Any other staff reports? All right, being done, I'll turn it over for informal discussion and public comment. Anyone wish to speak? All right, if not, I'll turn it over to council for comments. Mr. Holder?
We need to address the issue of golf carts on Clayton streets. I've been reading on Open Door comments that people have seen underage drivers of golf carts swerving back and forth with 1 foot hanging out the golf cart. I've also observed in Glen Laurel many golf carts that are not street legal. The state law says a golf cart has to be street legal to be driven on public streets. That means everything that a car has to have safety-wise. Right, Greg?
Chief Tartt.
Legal golf carts on the street have to have everything on them that a car has to have, right? Safety-wise.
I don't know that it's everything a car has to have, but I do know they have to have turn signals, seat belts, operating lights at night, obviously a license plate and a registration for each one of them. DMV has a list of items. I don't have it with me, but those are some of the ones that come to the top of my head.
Well, we've got a serious accident insurance claim waiting to happen by these underage people driving golf carts on our streets. And we need to address it. Not too many years after I moved in Glen Laurel, I was going out from my house and came up on a golf cart. It had been driven by teenagers. One of them was laying on the pavement. He'd been slung out of the golf cart and he was laying there unconscious. That was 20 years ago. It's worse now. I've got 2 or 3 golf carts on my street. And I see teenagers driving them. We've had one report of someone 8 or 9 driving one. So it's an epidemic and we need to decide what we're going to do about it.
Is the Glen Laurel HOA doing anything saying?
HOA is not HOA, people don't like the HOA.
Well, they ain't gonna like the town of Clayton either, but I'm gonna tell you, we got laws in the town, and if you can't abide by them, then you're gonna be issued a citation, and it shouldn't take but a few citations to help correct the poor judgment that's going on in that area. So I think, I don't know what the best protocol is. I'll let the chief of police decide that, but it seems like maybe we should notify the HOA that this is getting ready to be strictly enforced, and it won't take us but 3 or 4 days out there to make that happen. And I think we should see some.
Does not have to require that to happen.
Well, perhaps not, but I'm just saying HOA is a direct communication to that neighborhood where this problem exists. And the HOA gets a letter or an email from the chief of police for the town of Clayton that they can forward to all the people on their server list so that they know that this is getting ready. This is a serious problem. It's an accident waiting to happen, and we're getting ready to take some corrective action. And if it's not, then there'll be consequences, or however, the chief is great at wordsmithing all that stuff. But I think we have all had, a good amount of emails on that topic, and it is specific to Glen Laurel. So
it's out in Riverwood Athletic too.
Well, I don't know about that because it's not a golf course community out that way, but I think the majority of what we are experiencing is coming from Glen Laurel. But obviously it would be townwide. Yes, to your point. Yes. All right, anyone else? Mr. Granis?
Well, I need to respond to our attorney regarding North Carolina State. I have a great deal of respect for State being in the College World Series, and I'm very excited that they did what they did to Stanford. But watch out for the Texas Longhorns. Even though they did lose last night 2-1, they ain't done yet.
I hope the Wolfpack's not done yet either.
Well, they're in a better place than the Horns are.
Well, I was watching the Virginia-Tennessee game yesterday, and Virginia really put it on Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, they did. This is just an FYI, and I know I'm wasting time here, but in the Texas-Mississippi State game, the starting pitcher for Mississippi State set a College World Series record by striking out 16 batters in 7 innings. And the team, the combined strikeout record was set 30 strikeouts, 21 by the Mississippi State guys and 9 by Texas. And it was a phenomenal game, phenomenal. And Mississippi State won 2-1.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Bobby.
Motion to adjourn.
No, it's my turn now. I'm not done. I got a whole list of stuff right here. Couple things. Can we get an update on our employee who is in the hospital battling COVID? Because I haven't seen anything via email correspondence on what's current with that. It doesn't have to be publicly, but just can we get some information to know? We will ask the public to keep in your thoughts and prayers. We do have a Town of Clayton employee who is suffering tremendously with COVID-19, and we ask for prayers for that employee and for his family. Yeah, that would be awesome. Second thing, Joey, when you talk to country superstars, you have to say y'all at least 3 times. Because otherwise people aren't going to hear it. Yeah, you got to have that country twang going on. So, y'all, okay, that was just one note I had for you. The second thing that is more serious, on a more serious note, is I received a call from Donna Bailey Taylor with the Johnson County Visitors Bureau, who was and is researching some grant possibilities for Johnston County, and she contacted me to say that it's quite possible there's a grant out there that the Town of Clayton would be interested in if we could find a permanent place for our farmers market, and that grant would provide a permanent structure for the farmers market up to, I think, about $500,000. So I know that that's like totally new on our radar, and I'm not expecting anybody to say this is a great spot or that's a great spot, but I'm just asking everybody to put their thinking cap on, as that could be a great opportunity for us. And if it works out fine, and if it doesn't fine, I think people totally enjoy having the farmers market in downtown on Horne Square. But as that, continues to grow and progress, it might be that we need to have a specific place like many other towns do, that has that structure in place. And it would not have to be just for a farmers market. It could be other, things that could transpire under those shelters as well. Chief.
Actually, about 2 or 3 months ago, Hank and I had a discussion with the farmers market about a Clayton location that would be better as they grow.
Awesome.
We had 2 weeks to put them about their growth. So it's up to that.
That's great. So whatever, plans or concepts or ideas you have, if we could get those over to Donna Bailey Taylor, that would be great. It'd be awesome.
The things that you want to stay downtown, just to keep that cohesive feel of downtown and farmers market.
Right. But I think the reality is, as we continue to grow and more programming comes into play, that might not necessarily end up being the case. So while we have an opportunity to grab up to $500,000, we may have to do something. But I definitely would love to see it be somewhere in our vicinity. I don't want to see it off the beaten path, so to speak. The last thing is that I want to express my sincerest appreciation to this town council and our town staff and the citizens of Clayton for the outpouring of support and love for the loss of Mama Mayor. And I want to thank you for the beautiful wind chime that I have from all of you. And it's a very special gift for me, and it's in a very special place on my back porch, and it plays very special chimes. And I just appreciate the support and the thoughts and the prayers over the last couple of weeks. It's a bit of a challenging time. You always hate to see, your parents go, but when you know they're headed to a better place, it makes it a lot easier. What is most incredible about all of this, and I'm quite sure my mother did this from heaven, and it's worth taking the time to tell you this, So as you all recall, Mama Mayor had a fit over the public art out here that was the arch of the man and woman. And Mama Mayor felt like that statue was naked, and the women at First Baptist Church Sunday school class were going to knit some appropriate cover for that statue. And one thing that we learned from that was that, one, you shouldn't put a controversial statue like that on the main road that goes to the Baptist church or the Methodist church when you live in Clayton. But we received an email this past week from a lady, and she expressed the same concern over the Valkyrie statue that's in Horne Square that has the big wings, that has the whole Viking war goddess story behind it. And she also thinks that that statue is naked. And, I think the beautiful thing about art is that art is designed to evoke emotion from humans. And it doesn't always have to be warm and fuzzy. Sometimes it can be, I don't like this, and why do we have this, and who picked this? That was kind of Mama Mayor's come from with what was going on out here. So I just thought getting that email the other day was just a perfect sign. And, nowhere else but in Clayton. But Mr. Holder.
I have one more thing that I think is very important. We've been reading where the state's going to have a $6 billion surplus from sales tax, and they're trying to decide what to do with it. I think we should contact our representatives and senators for the state and say, take half of it, give it to the highways so we can get some better highways and roads built. Take the other half and distribute it to the counties and municipalities for them to help do capital improvements. And it is timely. If we don't make that contact now, we're not going to have opportunity to do it, because they're talking about a tax decrease, which we do not need.
Right. We, Mayor and staff, have been in communication with our senators that represent us, in addition to ones that are close by to us, because it will be the North Carolina Senate that will decide how those fundings and some of the American Relief Act fundings are going to be distributed in North Carolina. So we've already been in touch with them to let them know what our infrastructure concerns are primarily. We didn't really elaborate specifically on the roads, so I'm glad that you mentioned that part, because so many of the concerns that are shared here with this council are NCDOT roads, and it would be nice for them to take a pot of gold and do some things with their own streets and roads. But for us, we have already been in contact with those senators to let them know that, we have a strong demand for infrastructure here with, over, $5 or $6 billion worth of biopharmaceutical. We got serious infrastructure needs here. So on that aspect of it, we've communicated, but I think we can definitely send something out that says, please keep this in mind for your street and road infrastructure improvements, because that's needed everywhere in North Carolina. Exactly. Thank you. All right. Anything else to come before this council? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move adjourn.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night.